All right, looks like we're all set. I'm going to cover identity theft. My name is Jeff. I work for the Wisconsin Bureau of Consumer Protection, basically the same area that Michelle is in. You heard Michelle talk this morning about landlord-tenant and mobile home. There's lots of things that consumer protection helps people out with, and identity theft is another one that's on the list. It's not just landlord-tenant law. We're here to help people recover from identity theft. So today we're just going to cover what it is, how it happens, how these individuals get our personal information. So bear with me for the first part of the presentation. It's kind of the scary stuff of how they get our information and how they use it against us. My intention is to not scare people today. I don't want you going home and throwing away the smartphones and the laptops and saying, I'm never going on that internet again. In fact, almost the opposite is true. It can be good to have an online presence where you can pay attention to credit card statements and online banking in real time, and easier to check credit reports and detect some of this fraudulent activity. The faster you detect it, the faster we can help you recover from it. So what is identity theft? Well, it's the criminal use of our personal information to obtain money, goods, or services. We know they're after our money, right? We get a lot of scam phone calls, emails, text messages. But if somebody was to use your personal information to get a loan, we just heard Mike talk about payday loans and installment loans, one of these high interest rate loans. Well, it's one thing if a consumer enters into that on their own, but if somebody uses your personal information to get that loan, they just want the money, and they're never gonna pay that loan off. And now all of a sudden, collections agencies are calling you, trying to collect this money from a loan you've never heard of. That's identity theft. But it's so much more than that. It is still the fastest growing crime in the United States. As you can see on the screen, somebody could also use your name to get a job, to fill out that I-9 paperwork on day one of a new job. Honestly, the first red flag of that would be next January getting a W-2 with your name, your social security number, for a job you've never even heard of, maybe not even a job in the state of Wisconsin. They'll go to hospitals or clinics, try to fool that hospital or clinic into thinking they're treating you, or really they're treating this identity thief. Lots of different types of identity theft. Government documents and benefits fraud, fraudulent applications for unemployment benefits, small business loans and grants, rent assistance. Somebody's using your information to try to apply for those programs. Again, that's identity theft. Identity theft is a Class H felony in the state of Wisconsin, but I want to make one kind of distinction right there where even though at the Bureau of Consumer Protection we do enforce and regulate some laws, we're not a per se law enforcement agency. We don't go after the criminals. That's law enforcement's job. Where we get involved with identity theft is we help people recover from it. If somebody has a financial loss, if these types of things are happening to you, we can help you recover from it. Even hiding from law enforcement. If somebody was to lie to an officer on a traffic stop and use somebody else's name to get out of that ticket. All of a sudden now a ticket gets filled out in your name, you don't even know it, it never gets paid, you're getting notice from the courts they're going to suspend your license or issue a warrant for your arrest. It's a really complicated crime. Often it's a crime where the victims are trying to prove they're the victim of a crime. No, that's not my job. I didn't open up that loan. I shouldn't be responsible for that. And again, that's where we come in at Consumer Protection. We can help mediate that between you, the banks, financial institutions, companies, even the credit reporting agencies, and try to close down those fraudulent accounts and get that off your credit report. So what information do they want? Everything. The more information they have that they can tie back to your name, the bigger picture of your identity that gives them. So everything you see on the screen, even the kind of public information, if you will, if you just do an internet search of your own name, you'd be surprised what's out there. Address, phone number, email address. But if you take one takeaway from this slide, what they really want is your name in conjunction with your date of birth and your social security number. Just with those pieces of information right there, that's enough to open up a loan. If you think about the last time you were at a retail store, when you're coming through the checkout line and the clerk wanted you to sign up for the credit card, a really common thing that happens nowadays, you can sign up right at the point of sale terminal, and that's all it takes. Date of birth, social security number, average annual salary, and there's an instant line of credit that can be opened up. Well, if somebody else does that with your information, later on, eventually, you're going to be responsible for that bill when you shouldn't be. The other unique thing about date of birth and social security number is that information never changes. So once a criminal has that, they kind of always have it. Your name really never changes. Your date of birth certainly never changes. And I can tell you, your social security number never changes. Even if we call up the Social Security Administration and tell them that your number's been compromised, it's in the wrong hands, you're the victim of identity theft, the Social Security Administration will not give you a new number. So once that information is out there, you're always going to be at a higher risk of being victimized. So how do they even get our information in the first place? Just kind of broke it down real simply here, low-tech and high-tech ways that they get our information. Some low-tech ways, dumpster diving. People are throwing away documents that have personal information on them. Pre-approved credit card offers, old bill statements, things like that, account statements. And somebody was to pull that out of the trash, there's a lot of information on those documents. Stolen mail. That red flag in the mailbox on the side of the house or at the street corner, just a red flag to a thief that there's something in there to steal. That usually means somebody's paying a bill, even sending off a birthday card with a personal check inside. Think of the information that's on that document right there. Name, address, phone number, sometimes driver's license number, perfect copy of the person's signature, their bank account number, and their bank routing number, just on a personal check. If that falls into the wrong hands, somebody can use that to commit identity theft. And then stolen wallets and phones. Lots of us nowadays have smartphones. These are basically computers that we carry around in our pockets and purses. So much information on a smartphone. Access to our email and our contacts and text messaging. We might have apps on there that remember our payment card information to make it easy to buy stuff. Online banking, password managers, just a ton of information. So if that falls into the wrong hands and somebody can just access that and open it up, they have access to all of that information. And then stolen wallets. Just about all of us carry a wallet, probably have a driver's license or ID in there. I mean, there's lots of reasons we don't want to lose our wallets, right? But from the context of identity theft, a driver's license gives a lot of information, but you can help yourself out a little bit with your wallets. Don't also carry your social security card around with you. There's just very few times in your life you need the paper social security card. You might need the number, so of course memorize that, but a driver's license and a social security card in a lost wallet gives an identity thief everything that they need. That's the low-tech stuff, but then there's the high-tech way that they steal our information. So we'll talk about skimming devices on the next slide. Phishing scams, these are the emails, the text messages, the phone calls that we get bombarded with. They're just casting out bait, hoping that people bite, and they can trick us into giving up our personal information, and then they use that to commit identity theft. We'll talk a little bit about data breaches and social networking, and then we'll get to how we can protect ourselves from some of this. So skimming devices, excuse me. This can be found on ATMs or gas pumps. For the most part, I'm going to talk in the context of a gas pump, but there's internal and external skimmers. So the left picture there is a picture of an external skimmer. It looks just like the real credit card reader. It fits over the top, and you pump your gas and you pay for the gas at the gas pump. You push your card in, slide it out. You have no idea that a criminal just grabbed the account number from the front of your card. They come back later, they grab that account number, they transfer it to a fake plastic card with a mag stripe. They effectively have a cloned copy of whatever card you used to pay for your gas that day. Technology gets better and better. Now they're not just external skimmers, now there's internal skimmers. Some gas stations have started to put security labels on their pumps to let you know that the pumps have not been tampered with. The other picture here is a broken security label. Bottom line, it's best to go inside and pay. When you go inside and you have to insert the chip into the machine, that chip on our cards is a way to do our transactions where our account numbers are encrypted. That's great. I get to pay for my stuff, and I'm not exposing my account number during that transaction. If you do pay at the gas pump, there's some things that you can do to help yourself out. It's recommended that you use, from the context of identity theft, a credit card instead of a debit card. With a credit card, you have a lot more protection. You have 60 days from the date of your last statement to report a fraudulent charge and not be held financially responsible. Conversely, if we look at using a debit card and that number falls into the wrong hands, well, one, that's your money. That just comes back to the checking account. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Depends on how the criminal uses your debit card information, but your bank or financial institution may consider that an electronic transfer of funds. If that's the case, you might only have 48 hours to report that and have the bank or credit union reimburse that money. Even if you report it within the time frame, still, at least for some period of time, you're out money. What if it takes the bank or credit union 2 weeks to get that money back to you? And in the meantime, other bills are due. You can see how you could start to fall behind. So I just recommend people have this conversation with your bank, because they all have different policies. They might offer more protection than what the law requires them to do. So have that conversation. Ask them, what happens if somebody gets a hold of my debit card information, makes a fraudulent purchase? Are you going to reimburse the money? How much time do I have to report that? How long is it going to take to get my money back? I'd like to know the answers to those questions before I actually lose my money. And then there's scams. We actually have a whole separate presentation that dives into these much more detail than I have time to do today. But I want to touch on it. I mean, some scams are out there just to steal our money, but some scams are trying to get a hold of our personal information. And if they can get a hold of our personal information, of course, they can commit identity theft. Some big picture things with phone calls, caller ID. They can make your caller ID say whatever they want. It's called spoofing. So just because a name pops up on your caller ID and a phone number, and maybe if it's it's the correct phone number for whatever caller ID is saying, that doesn't necessarily mean that's who's calling you. If you look at it from the standpoint of the criminals, step number one to get you to fall for a scam, they got to get you to answer the phone. So there's all these little tricks out there to try to get somebody to answer their phone. They found out a long time ago you're unlikely to answer some area code you've never heard of. So now they make it look like a local call. I'm guessing most of your scam phone calls look like they come from this area, because or from your own number. Yeah. Oh, you've called yourself. Yeah, so that's one that it's just meant to drive people crazy. Like, what is going on? And you want to get to the bottom of this, makes you want to answer the phone. Or the first three numbers match your phone number and the last four are just off a little bit. It's meant to, this must be somebody I know, but I just don't have them programmed into my phone. They want to get you to answer the phone. So our recommendation is don't answer if you don't recognize the number. And if you're in a position in life where you can do that, great, wonderful. I know that's easy for me to stand up here and say. Not everybody can do that. I talk to people who are in sales and business professionals and realtors, and sometimes when the phone rings, they have to answer. That's a much trickier situation, because then you have to weed through the real phone calls from the fake ones. These individuals will tell you whatever they can on the other end of a phone to trick you out of your information or your money. They like to pretend to be the government. They'll tell you scary things, that you owe back taxes or there's a warrant for your arrest. Social Security number has been used in criminal activity, and they're going to suspend your Social Security. It'd be a really scary phone call to somebody who relies on Social Security benefits every month. There's no such thing as a suspended Social Security number. Big red flag of a scam, that you have to take action now or bad things are going to happen. Family and friends, the grandparent scam, I think that was mentioned earlier today. Sweetheart scams, there's tech support scams out there where they want to get into your computer, and they're super friendly. Your computer's infected with a virus, and they can fix it. And they want to remote in, and all of a sudden you see somebody else moving the mouse around on your screen. That means they're in your computer. And if it's a criminal, there's all kinds of bad things that they can do while they're in there. Utility scams, that they're going to turn the power off to your house because you're behind on your bill. The list kind of goes on and on. There's all these different scams out there. And it's not just phone calls. They can email us, they can text us. There's pop-up windows on our computers. There's a way, the criminals will always try to find a way to get that message in front of us. So I think I covered some of this. Yeah, you have to know who you're dealing with with phone calls. And when it's an incoming phone call, email, or text, because we know you can't trust caller ID, and there's also ways they can hide their email address and their number that they're texting you from, it can be really difficult to kind of know who you're dealing with. Really, the only way you know is if you do the research, you find the real trusted contact information for whatever business or entity you're trying to get a hold of, and you reach out to them. On the previous screen, charities is a popular scam. It's really, really hard to tell on incoming phone call whether that's a real charity or not. If you're interested in giving money to a charity, that's great. Don't let a charity find you. You find the charity you want to give money to. Pressure to act quickly, take action now or bad things are going to happen. Text message that somebody just charged something to your Amazon account. Click this link to stop that charge from going through. They pick on big businesses like that because it's popular and lots of people have those accounts, and it's these little scare tactics. Once you click on that link, you can open up your phone or your computer to different vulnerabilities. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. We talked about what was that? Somebody was trying to buy something online earlier. We were talking offline. It was too good to be true of a price. Somebody tells you that you won the lottery and you didn't even enter that lottery, or it's a foreign lottery, which are illegal to play in the first place. All different types of scams. Scammers, criminals, they want people to pay over the phone with gift cards and wiring money. And that's their preferred form of payment, and even cryptocurrency now sometimes, because those forms of payments are an immediate way to transfer that money, and it's next to impossible for law enforcement or even us at the state to try to track that money. So again, don't answer if you don't recognize the number. If you actually win something in the course of your life, you never have to pay out of pocket to get to that winnings. If you win money, you go to the casino, you might be on the hook for taxes, sure, but they're going to take your taxes out of your winnings. Just give me what's left over. If you have to pull money out of your pocket to get to your winnings, red flag that is a scam. Never give your personal information to somebody when you receive the call. And this gets a little tricky. There are times we do have to kind of prove who we are when we make a phone call to the bank or the credit reporting agency. They don't know who's calling. So they will sometimes ask you those qualifying questions to make sure they are talking to the right person. But when we receive the call, you never have to verify that information over the phone. It's the opposite. They have to prove to us that they're the real business calling us. Another way that they get our information, through no fault of our own, is when there's data breaches. You just have to open up the news and you hear about data breaches all the time. There's been lots and lots of data breaches over the years that have affected Wisconsin consumers. Lots of people have received these letters that you've been part of a data breach. If when you receive one of those letters, that means you're 3 times more likely to be the victim of identity theft in the next 12 months. So you really want to be on your toes if you receive that type of notification letter. Now, some of these logos that you see on the screen, we can choose to do business with them or not. But then some of them, they have our information whether we like it or not. Credit reporting agencies have our information, government agencies have our information, and we're kind of at their mercy to just make sure they keep their computers safe and don't allow unauthorized access to that information. So you can help yourself out a little bit of next time you open up a new account and a business wants to ask for all your info. You have to ask yourself whether that's worth it or not. Kind of the more often you hand out your information, the more likely you're probably going to be part of a future data breach. Conversely, the less often you hand it out, the less likely you'll be part of a future data breach. Social media, they get a lot of information on social media. Could be as simple as a family member, in high school or college, sharing information about an upcoming trip. If somebody sees that and they can turn that information into the grandparent scam, and they pretend to be that grandchild that's on this vacation, and they have the little tidbits of that itinerary, that can make that scam sound so much more believable. It can be as simple as somebody posting a picture of a birthday cake with a number on top of it. and tagging somebody in that birthday post. That could be giving away somebody's name, date of birth, and address, just in a simple birthday greeting post. So before you make posts, kind of look and see what information you're handing out. But it's not just the posts that you make. I mean, it could be family members and friends that are posting about you as well. You have to be aware of imposter accounts. There's nothing that really stops somebody from making an account with that same profile picture of somebody who's a friend of yours. Just because you recognize the profile picture doesn't necessarily mean that's your actual friend. That could be a fake account. Weak passwords. We're going to talk about passwords later on and how we can protect ourselves. Allow these accounts to be easily hacked and taken over. You see these surveys come out on social media with these simple little questions, and hey, this is fun, do this with me, and copy and paste your own answers in. A lot of those answers are the security questions for your account recovery when you can't remember your passwords. So don't give that information away. Or just, the direct messenger, too good to be true offers that may come through. So what are some ways that we can protect ourselves with our phones and our computers? We want to make sure that they're locked so that if they fall into the wrong hands, somebody can't just push a button, swipe up on the screen, and have access to all of that information. So have the fingerprint, the facial recognition, the code, the pattern that you have to type in, have something in case that falls into the wrong hands. Always update your devices. Updates almost always include security updates. So you want to opt in for those. I'm kind of working from the bottom up here. If you're out and about and you want to use Wi-Fi, you have to know that you're on a secure Wi-Fi connection before you do something sensitive like online shopping or online banking. That's kind of a longer conversation to know whether you're on a secure Wi-Fi or not, but the Cliff Notes version is this. If you're not sure, not the time to be doing online shopping or online banking. Wait till you're at home to do that sort of thing. Or if you can, turn your phone into a hotspot and connect your computer to that, or just use your phone's data connection. That's actually more secure than Wi-Fi. Antivirus, anti-malware, firewall protection. Make sure your devices are configured and protected. The cameras on our phones often have something enabled called geotagging. That if I was to snap a picture right now and we looked at the details of that photo, there'd be a map of the area with a pin drop for this building. So then if I share that photo with somebody, I'm sharing location information as well. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, just understand what information you're choosing to share. And then for my online shoppers, before you're doing business with a website, you want to make sure that that website is encrypted. If you ever have to send credit card information or personal information to a website, you always want it to have that HTTPS. The S means secure, means that it's encrypted. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. For like an online retailer that you're getting ready to make a purchase from, don't be fooled that just because it has the S means that it's been vetted out and we know for sure that's a real online retailer. Unfortunately, criminals can make websites as well. They can get free SSL security certificates, which give them the S, and they do that to fool us into trusting that website. So do your research. If it's a website that you've never done business with in the past, it's new, and maybe it's offering that product at a little too good to be true price, do your research, see how long that website's been around, see what the reviews are, see if other people are complaining online that they were scammed or didn't receive their information, so that you can make a more informed choice of whether you choose to do business or not. Watch out for clicking links from unknown emails or text messages, and on your phones, only download apps from trusted locations. All right, some things that we can do to protect ourselves here. Remember the dumpster divers? Well, an easy thing that we can do is shred paperwork before we throw it out. If you don't have a shredder, oftentimes a bank or library or credit union might offer a free shredding event that you can get involved in. Take the important stuff right to the post office, or get a secure locking mailbox so that only you and the postal carrier have access to prevent somebody from stealing your mail. Enable something called two-factor or multi-factor authentication. Whenever you see this offered for your online accounts, opt in for this. So this is an extra layer of protection. So here's kind of how it works. Basically, you're telling a company ahead of time, hey, have you ever seen me log in from a different device that you've never seen me log in from before, some different computer or different phone? Take an extra step to verify that it's actually me and not somebody who just stole my username and password. So what most businesses will do is they'll send you an email or a text message with a one-time use code that's only good for a short period of time, and you have to put that code in to complete the login process. The idea is that if somebody the other side of the world or the other side of the country just stole your username and password, they probably don't, and I say probably, but they probably don't also have access to your text messaging or email. So they're not going to get that code to complete the login process. Plus, if I'm standing here right now and all of a sudden I got a text message with a code trying to log into an account, and I'm not actively trying to log in, I immediately in real time know my password's been compromised, time to make some changes. These individuals will try to steal your taxes. And there's some kind of, it's still new information, that's kind of exciting. We can protect our taxes now. So last year, the IRS made available to everyone something called an identity protection PIN number. In the past, you had to show that you were the victim of identity theft to qualify for this, but now they made it available to everybody. And the Wisconsin Department of Revenue has a similar program. So if you opt in for this, next tax season, they're going to send you a special code that you have to put on your tax documents when you send in that paperwork. And this works whether you file electronically or with paper. So when you send in your tax documents and you've got the special code, IRS and DOR know that comes from you. But if somebody else tries to file fraudulent taxes in your name and they don't have that code on their paperwork, those government agencies are going to know right away that's a fraudulent tax filing. We can actually now protect our taxes. Use strong passwords. Many people use the same password for accounts. They have simple passwords. A lot of these old passwords have been parts of previous data breaches. A lot of people have a base password with a number at the end of it. Every time they change the password, the number goes up by 1. Those are all things that would make it easier for a criminal to figure out your password and hack into your account. You need to have different passwords for all of your accounts, and that's incredibly difficult. How do we remember 164 different online passwords, right? Urge you to look into something called a password manager. These are simple little programs that you can download to your phone or computer. The FBI recommends that we use password managers. Password Manager will create, organize, store, and automatically fill in all your passwords for you. And I'm not talking about the feature on your phone or laptop where you can just tell your device to remember your password. In fact, that's not recommended, because if your device falls into the wrong hands, now somebody can sign into all your accounts because your computer is going to do the work for them. A password manager will only fill in your passwords for you after you put in your master password. So these managers really allow you to have different passwords for all of your accounts, and all you have to do is remember one really good strong password. And we have a document on our website about how to create one really good strong password or passphrase. Check your credit reports. A lot of people that I talk to know they get free credit reports, but they don't actually check them. I believe right now you can still check your online credit report for free every week, or that might have expired. I know it was April that it got extended to, so we might just be past that. But at a minimum, you get a free credit report once every 12 months from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And you should check it. You should recognize everything that's in your credit report. If there's something in there that you don't recognize, that could be a fraudulent account. That might be something where you need to file a complaint with us, and we can mediate that between you and that business and try to close that down. And then credit freezes and fraud alerts. One of the best things that you can do to protect yourself from financial identity theft is freeze your credit, or at a minimum, place a fraud alert. A fraud alert is probably the easiest. It's one phone call to one of those agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian. They will then contact the other 2 and put a fraud alert across all 3. A fraud alert doesn't stop new lines of credit. It just requires businesses to take some extra verification steps that it's actually you trying to open up that line of credit. Better yet is a credit freeze. When you freeze your credit, no one can open up a new line of credit in your name. Your credit's frozen. So if somebody has your name, your date of birth, your social security number, and they try to open up a new credit card or get a payday cash loan or a new installment loan, all of that will be stopped because your credit's frozen. But you as the consumer, you still have access to your credit. Let's say later this year you need to buy a car. You can simply lift this freeze in as little as an hour, do that legitimate transaction, and then as soon as you get approved for that new loan or new credit card, whatever you want to do, refreeze your credit to stop other people from using your information. Just got a couple slides left here for you. I hope that none of this happens to you, but if it does, just remember that we're here. We help people recover from this. We have some dedicated mediators that just deal with identity theft complaints, and we can mediate that between you, these companies, businesses, banks, financial institutions, credit reporting agencies, and try to close those fraudulent accounts down, get that off your credit report, and help you recover money that you've lost. And the easiest way to do that is file a complaint right through our website, that datcp.wi.gov, or like Michelle mentioned earlier, just call our consumer protection hotline number. We can email you the complaint form, we can mail you the complaint form. However we can get that to you, get it filled out, get it back to us. We'll get working on that and try to help you recover. That was a lot of information. I know identity theft is usually about an hour-long presentation, so I had to pare it down for today. Any questions? Yes, sir.
When I call my credit card, folks, they ask for the last 4 digits of my social security number. Is that a danger, giving them that?
So the question is when you call your credit card company, they ask for your last 4 digits of your social security number to verify that.
Or
that,
the account.
Or the account number. So as long as you know you're calling the real credit card company, you've looked that up, that's the number that's on the back of your card, that's the number that's on your account billing statement. Yes, when we call people, sometimes we do have to verify some information, but you just always want to keep that straight, that if they ever call us, then you don't know who you're talking to, so you never want to verify information or give information over the phone.
Another question. It says never click a link in an unsolicited email or text message. What happens if you accidentally click on it? What happens then?
Sure. So the question is the bookmark that you have in your hand says to never click on a link from an unsolicited communication, text, email message. That link is that blue underlined hyperlink.
Now, is that the same as opening the email?
No, that's different. So we can talk about that here in a second. But if you click on a malicious link, it can open up your device to vulnerabilities. It may automatically install a program or allow somebody access. There's all kinds of things that can happen. If you're on a computer or a laptop, there's a technique where you can kind of hover your mouse pointer over a link. Don't click on anything, just hover it. And like this little tan window will pop up and it'll kind of show you where that takes you. And you can see if you recognize that website or not. But the best advice is if you're not sure where that link goes, to not click on it if you don't know who sent it to you. Now the opening up of a suspicious email or opening up a text message that is a scam, just simply opening it, I don't think necessarily puts your device at risk, but it may send a message that message has been opened, which just verifies to a criminal that this is an active phone number or an active email address. And you may just get more and more scams coming in. Just like when we get phone calls, sometimes they trick us into push number 2 to end this call and be placed on the do not call list. Well, if it's a scam phone call, pushing a button on your phone sends a message that this is an active phone number, you just tend to get more and more scam phone calls.
I missed when you said fraud alert and credit freeze. How do you initiate that?
Oh, yes. So fraud alert is just one phone call to one of those companies, and we have,
Is it on your brochure?
That might be, I think that's, yep, I think we have that, and it's available on our website as well. Yeah, the phone numbers and websites are in here. A credit freeze you have to do individually with each credit reporting agency.
It's right here.
Yep, and you will have to, this will be one of those situations where you do have to verify some information. So when we reach out to the credit reporting agencies through that, trusted information right there, they don't know who's calling. So they will be asking you some questions about your credit report and to test you that you can answer them correctly so that they know that they're really talking to the real consumer.
The key is, like you said, I call them, they don't call me.
Correct. Yep. Key is that you called them, not the other way around. All right. Any other questions about identity theft or how to protect yourself? Like I said, I hope none of this happens to anybody, but if it does, we're here to help.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.